Welcome back to Viewmasters. Rusty, it's been a little bit of a slow month for us. I've been in Australia. I'm coming to you live from a studio in Australia. They shut down Australian public radio for me to do this podcast.
You're a legend over there now.
It's true. I was picked on by a bogan on the street. You wouldn't believe this, Rusty. I was bullied. I haven't been bullied in many years. I couldn't believe it.
Is this true?
It is true. One of my first nights here, this is in Fitzroy, and I was walking on can't even remember the name of the street, doesn't matter, but Brunswick. I was walking on Brunswick by all these bars, and I was like, where am I going? So I pull off to the side. I'm looking at my phone, and then like a young drunk guy walks up to me. He's with like three other guys, and he's like, hi, having a good night, mate. I'm like, what? And I looked up at him with like such hatred. He's like, have a good night, mate. Can I get a handshake, mate? And I was like, what? And then I shook his hand super limply, and he had walked away. But I was like, even in Australia, they have that thing where bullies, remember in high school where certain bullies would always be like, hey, shake my hand. Hey, shake my hand. I'm like, what was that about? If I was a bully, I'd bring much more to the table.
See, what did I tell you? You're a great guy.
Did you size him up? Do you think you could have taken him?
Oh, I could have destroyed him, but I didn't want to go to jail for murder.
You should have challenged him to a game of knifey spoony.
All right, you win. I see you've played knifey spoony before.
Well, there's some sports here I didn't even know about. For instance, I just walked by Netball HQ. You ever hear of netball?
No.
It's basically basketball without a backboard.
Great game.
The greatest. But it's more than a game. It's the ultimate challenge.
Interesting.
Yeah, seems kind of pointless to me. Rusty, you won't believe how they pronounce Adidas here. And apparently it's the right way.
What's the right way? Go on, tell me.
Adidas.
Adidas. Actually, I did know that, believe it or not.
Did you know that the guy who started Adidas
The
and
German
the guy who started Puma
are the
were
brothers.
brothers?
Yes.
And they became estranged.
Do you think if you went to a place in America and asked for Adidas, do you think they would say, what the hell are you talking about?
I've been away from America so long, I don't know what they would say. I think they would say, send him back. Send him back.
Fine. Have it your way. I'm out of here.
Rusty, you won't believe how they say aluminum. You won't believe how they say aluminum. Now I can't even say it. Aluminum.
Aluminum. I know British people say it differently, a lot differently. Aluminium or something like that.
Aluminium. You wouldn't believe how crazy Alex went when I said aluminum. Aluminium just sounds a little too sci-fi for something you put leftovers in, rub on your armpits, and get Alzheimer's from.
Now open your mind to me, please. Open your mind.
Did you tell Alex that to listen to our Highway to Hell episode, not based on the AC/DC song?
No, I didn't. I don't even remember that film. But you know what? They call AC/DC Akadaka.
That one I don't get. I get some of the other ones.
Well, because AC/DC is based on electricity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people running out of things to base things on now. They're basing shit on electricity. And they call it Akadaka here. So I guess, look, this is, who knows how accurate this is. It's like, I feel like we've built viewers. I feel like we've built listeners as we've gone on, but I feel like our Australian listener base has gone down, and now I'm going to fucking tank it completely.
Well, I think we could build it back up. We just got to.
I think we can too. I think we can too.
A lot of Australian references. What's that red rock called? Where's that? What's it called?
Ayers Rock.
Yeah, but where's the location of it?
I don't know. I think it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Oh shit.
I had so many ambitions when I got here too. I was like, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna have a picnic at Hanging Rock. Instead, I've like gone to the mall.
You know, my voyage of self-discovery has ended in despair.
Our pick of the week. Now, this is Rusty. You picked this film. This
Love it.
was originally going to be your birthday,
Yeah,
your birthday episode. Your birthday is almost a month ago now,
I know.
and it's funny. When I was talking to my friend here, and she was like, "And you're 40," and I was like, "Yeah, just turned." And she's like, "Isn't your birthday in November?"
Just about to turn 41.
Just just turned. Just turned. But yeah, just one of the guys. Rusty has seen this movie hundreds of times.
If not 200. 200 plus times. I don't even know. I love this movie because I've been pushing it on you for how many years? 20 something years now.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. And only recently found out that it's loosely based on Twelfth Night by Bill Shakespeare. Now,
Yeah.
this really hits close to home for me, Rusty, because my life is loosely based on Macbeth.
How was your life based on Macbeth?
Well, I'm one of the off-screen characters. I was dating one of the witches, but she broke up with me.
Where are you now?
But I'm gonna get it back. I'm gonna get her back.
I like it.
I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about.
This movie, like you said, was a HBO movie,
Mm-hmm.
and this movie was on all the time, like multiple times a day. And this is when HBO was only HBO, not the other million channels they have. So for that to get that kind of play,
I really missed out. There's a whole alternate reality where my parents had HBO, and I experienced all this stuff. It took me so long also to get regular cable, so I missed like the early generation of Nickelodeon.
in a parallel universe, you had HBO and you're just normal. You're a normal guy.
Yeah, exactly.
You have a family, you have kids,
Oh my god.
and now you're one of the
Instead,
more.
I'm in a podcast studio in Australia, Castaway Studios. Great place. Derek, great guy.
Oh, nice.
Derek said to me, he said, "I share my studio with Paul Verhoeven," and I was like, "With Paul Verhoeven?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "The Paul Verhoeven?" And he's like, "I think so." And I was like, "The director?" And he's like, "No, not the director, the writer." "Who's Paul Verhoeven, the director?" And I'm like, he directed Total Recall, Basic Instinct, Starship Troopers, the recent film Elle, I believe a Dutch film called Black Book, RoboCop. And then I was like, why am I listing all of his credits?
You forgot Showgirls.
I did. Well, when I was talking to him, I told him Showgirls.
Oh, good.
I even said Flesh and Blood. I was like, you know that medieval movie Flesh and Blood with like Rutger Hauer?
What kind of conversation did you have with this guy? Just listing credits?
Just listing. You know those times in the podcast where we've just listed stuff? It was like that. And I was just like, why am I still listing?
Did he not know who Paul Verhoeven was after that?
No, he still didn't know. To me, Paul Verhoeven's one of the top 5 most famous directors ever.
I'd buy that for $1.
Above or below George Lucas? Where would you put? Where would you put him?
Oh, so high above. So high above.
With just one of the guys, though, I had this movie on heavy rotation with Rad Karate Kid. And remember that dinosaur movie, Baby? That's
I
one of
stayed
my-
in the theater. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh man, what an awful movie that was! But it did. I think it was one of the first movies that moved me, that made me teary eyed.
It was one of the first movies, and I think it came out when we were like 4. But it was one of the first movies that I was like, these special effects look like shit.
Yeah, it really was. But I wanted to believe that dinosaurs existed still. Like you could go into like the Amazon and find one.
I believe that dinosaurs still existed until I was about 18 or 19. Because you remember all the cryptozoology books we'd read or I'd read. And I think we may have mentioned this on the podcast before, but I'd always be like, okay, there's like 2,000 things in this book. So just statistically, at least 100 of those have to be real. Like lizard men living on the moon, that's not real. But Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, Mokla-Membe, which I think is the name of the dinosaur guy, one of those has got to be real. That's just statistics.
You pick and choose which ones you want to believe.
Yep.
See, growing up, aliens were the most plausible.
Oh yeah, still the most. I used to fantasize about when I would die, and I would meet St. Peter at the gates of heaven, and St. Peter would say, "Oh, Edward, you got any questions?" And I would just be like, "Hey, is the Loch Ness Monster real? Is Mokla-Membe real? Is this real?" And the ironic thing is, I don't have to wait until I die because all the rainforests are burning down anyway. So if there's a dinosaur, we'll just see it running out on fire.
Well, at least people will know we're documenting when this episode was recorded by pointing out what's going on in Amazon.
Yeah, they'll be like, wow, it really took them a long time to get to this new episode. Wasn't there a last episode in July? We will be back on a fucking regular schedule when I'm back in America.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't done this in so long. I feel like we're starting over again.
Yeah, I hate that feeling.
We've got to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps and get through this.
Yes, we do.
Cause it's party time. Let's dance. Let's get crazy. Let's get drunk. Let's get naked.
You know what I liked about Just One of the Guys, which
What?
appealed to me as a youngster, that I felt represented by each one of the characters.
Oh, okay.
And
It's
what
a
I
bit
mean
like
is,
the movie Vacancy, where all the guests in the hotel end up being parts of the personality of the like murderer, and that's like you with Just One of the Guys.
yeah, like Greg Tolan, like he was popular and tough. So I thought
That's your first pick is the bully. Yeah, William Zabka was the guy I related to most.
in every movie he was in, or just this one?
Mostly in The Karate Kid, but yeah.
Is that why you took karate?
No, I took karate. Well, actually, yeah, I did. I think I talked about it on a previous episode. Me and my brothers, whenever we watch Karate Kid, we'd call like karate schools, and then like the high would wear off, and like they'd call back, and we'd be like, "No, we're not here. We're not here."
Do you remember in Karate Kid where he's like trying to teach himself karate from a book?
Yep.
I did the same thing because my mom wouldn't pay for karate lessons, so we went to the library and I just rented a book on martial arts, and I was trying to practice it from home. And of course, you don't learn anything.
Yeah, I remember getting some of those books as well.
But besides Greg Tolan, like Rick Morehouse was introverted, and like Buddy was witty and charming, and then Terry was intelligent and attractive. So I really thought I embodied all those characteristics.
No, listen, I figured the whole thing out. There is nothing wrong with you except for the way you dress.
In recent years, though, and from an article I read on the Jezebel website, this has become championed as a gay film.
I have to say, for a movie with this, we should say that the plot is about a woman who goes undercover as a boy in high school to win a journalism contest. Rusty, we're always covering things that have journalism contests.
I know.
But yeah, I thought that this movie was going to be like a fucking minefield, but it actually handles the gender stuff pretty fine, I think.
Yeah. And I actually think it's ahead of its time.
Ahead of its time.
Yeah. Well, all right,
I agree.
Unless you say Some Like It Hot is ahead of its time, but
well, I probably would say Something Like It Hot is ahead of its time, but also this is ahead. I mean, also we watch. You go back to movies from the '80s. You watch Monster Squad. They're throwing around the F word like crazy.
yeah.
This was seemed fairly enlightened. Probably the credit should go to the director Lisa Gottlieb, but Lisa Gottlieb made that rare leap from the casting department into directing. You don't often see that leap. I like when you see an unexpected transition. But then she didn't have a big career really after that. She went to
Wait,
Freddy's Nightmares.
hold on a second. I'm looking at Lisa Gottlieb's biography right now on Google, and it says she was born in 1971. So that would make her 14 when she directed this movie.
She was also a casting assistant on Blues Brothers, I noticed, which that would make her 9 on that film. Oh my God, I sold John the heroin that killed him.
Are you playing audio clips right now?
That was my 9-year-old voice.
What were you doing at 9?
At 9,
At 9?
I literally thought I could become an actual werewolf. I remember with our old friend Eric, who's mentioned on this. I think we said this before, but he told me he was like really serious. He's like, I gotta talk to you about something. I was like, all right, what is it? And he's like, hey, you can't tell anybody. I was like, all right. He's like, I think I'm turning into the creature from the Black Lagoon. And then I was like, I immediately had to jump in and be like, I think I'm turning into a werewolf.
Right, and I'm Cyndi Lauper.
Rusty, there was a whole trend of in the 80s identity swapping movies, whether it would be a kid becoming an adult, a nerd becoming a cool kid, and to me at the time that seemed like my only plausible path to glory. So like these movies were really like a vicarious experience for me because I was like, I've got to do something similar to that.
Look, what a fox. Dresses like Elvis Costello. Looks like the Karate Kid. I'm gonna get him.
It really made you delusional how the real world worked. You really thought, like, going into high school that this could play out for you, one of these movies.
to me, it was the most plausible thing. It's actually sad to think about it. I was always like, okay, I'm going to become a popular kid. I'm going to become popular. I'm going to become a popular kid by becoming a werewolf.
What can a teen wolf do?
I could believe you actually thinking that was possible. See, I really thought like the Kerry Green character was going to move into the neighborhood. I would befriend her, and then she would bring me to like hang out with Charlie Sheen, and I would be accepted.
I remember when a cute new girl moved into town, and I was like, oh wow, this is my chance. And it's like as if like she didn't know the hierarchy just by looking at it. She immediately joined like the cool kids.
She saw the vultures lining up, and there you were.
I was like a plague victim trying to get like a princess like, hey, do you want to hang out with us?
Come with me. You're like with like a cloak on, like come.
Oh, what do you guys have to offer? We can infect you.
I'd buy that for $1.
Well, I would say one of the biggest names of this movie, Rusty, has got to be Jeff Franklin. He's one of the writers.
I'm puzzled by this. Yeah, I know he's one of the writers.
You don't know who Jeff Franklin is?
Tell me who Jeff Franklin is. Tell our audience, because not
Rusty,
a
this guy will have you whacked, no fucking problem.
Really? Oh shit.
Yeah, one phone call, you'll disappear. Jeff Franklin, he began his television career as a writer and producer for Laverne and Shirley and Bosom Buddies.
All right, he's climbing.
So he already knew a little bit about going undercover as a different gender. But then he pitched a show about a bunch of comedians who lived together called House of Comics. But ABC said, we're looking for a family show. And he said, well, what if I add some kids to this idea? And it became Full House.
No way. Really?
Yep. This guy created Full House.
I was about to jokingly say, what is it, Full House? And it is full. Damn.
Then he created Hanging with Mr. Cooper. So this guy's got enough money to buy an aircraft carrier.
Some hits.
He's he lives in a 20,000 square foot mansion, Rusty. He's got an 18-car garage, and you're going to love this. He's got an Elvis museum in there. But my story of Jeff Franklin is not done yet. First of all, I should also tell you that he wrote Summer School. I know that's a Criterion Collection for you.
5 stars all day.
Here's the thing, though. He always regretted he left Full House 3 seasons before the end to work on Hanging with Mr. Cooper. He always regretted it. He told the New York Times in 2016 it was his biggest regret in life. So then what'd he do? Well, him and John Stamos, they teamed up. They made Fuller House for Netflix, which has been a huge hit.
I know.
One of those things, it's like white nationalism. I didn't know that was on the rise until it was too late. Fuller House, I didn't know it was a hit. Suddenly 4 seasons in.
I like the comparison.
But look at this, Rusty. This is about to take a really dark turn because Jeff Franklin was fired from Fuller House in 2018.
Oof, it's rough.
Now, why was he fired, Rusty? Well, because he would frequently talk about the orgies that he had over the weekend. And he would request that all the writers would come to his mansion, and they were reminded multiple times, bring their bikinis.
I can't believe we're gonna party here.
Neither can I.
He complained about having to hire directors who were women or people of color, and he once described female directors as all the same.
Oof. Not excellent. Not excellent. No.
He said in another comment about an underage girl, she's one nose job away from a good fuck, which I don't even get it.
You know, the last time I checked, the nose isn't a sexual orifice.
Actually, I've got to correct you there, Rusty, because in my rocker days, I had some wild nights with the Max Rebo band. Bring back Max Rebo. Where's he been? Give him a series on Disney Plus. Look at a photo of this guy. You'll totally get who he is. He seems like a dinosaur and just a scummy guy.
Asshole, major asshole.
You know the weird thing about this guy? Another weird thing about this guy is that in the mid-2000s, he did this run of really low-budget kind of horror stuff like Puppet Master vs. Demonic Toys and stuff like that. There's no way that this guy has like $100 million. Why was he working on those movies?
Probably to sexually harass actresses.
Rusty, give him some credit. I'm sure he sexually harassed the crew as well.
Did you see what she's wearing? The legs do not stop. You better be careful, George. You could lose your job. Be worth it. It's not that great a job.
So we open in Terry's room, and she's got a lot of posters on the wall, including some interesting connections, Rusty.
Yes, Bruce Springsteen was the big connection.
Tell us why.
Well, allegedly they dated back in the day, but there are pictures of them.
According to IMDb, they had dated for several years, according to IMDb.
Yes, I don't know. She never publicly really spoke about that, so it's not really known how long they were together, but there are photos out there that have been circulated of them together. But with Bruce Springsteen, you think that's weird? Were they dating at the time when this movie was made that they put the posters on the wall as like a joke? Or were they already done?
I don't know, but that is a weird one. That is a weird one.
He's a god, okay? Can we talk about me now?
So the posters on your wall growing up, Rusty, I could take you through all my posters.
So I'm guessing you had either Bo Jackson or like Wade Boggs on your wall.
I think I had Wade Boggs because I was like a young Red Sox fan for some reason. But I remember the very first poster I ever had. This is actually going to be controversial, what I'm about to say. It was a Michael Jackson poster.
Nice.
And some friends of my brother's, I was like 3 years old. They were like, you have a F word poster. And like, I felt so, they shamed me so hard. I took the Michael Jackson poster down. Thanks to that kind of homophobic shaming, I really pulled myself up on my bootstraps, and I got some kind of sexy posters of Rogue and Cloak and Dagger.
Wait, so you moved from Michael Jackson to Rogue and Cloak and Dagger instantly?
Well, that was like an 8-year jump. I also had a poster for karate. I had a poster. I remember as a really, really little kid, I had posters for the Karate Kid and the movie Alligator, which I love that movie. And they were from South Shore Video, and they would give you the posters after they had spent their time up in the window.
So their sun faded?
So it was so faded. Mr. Miyagi and Daniel would look like ghosts. There's like, it's like, oh, is this about like a dead kid and a ghost who mentors him?
Could have been an 80s movie.
I see dead people. But it really, my poster was so faded, it looked like the poster for the movie Ghost.
I thought you were going to say Powder.
Powder, no. Man, I've heard about Cobra Kai, but Cobra Die? Can't believe I wrote that down. What the fuck?
You know, the posters I had on the wall, I mixed it up. I like to change themes. But when I hit maybe like 13, remember the fairs that would come around in the summertime?
Oh, yeah. Hugely. Huge fan of those.
Do you remember like the poster booth? Like you would throw darts, and I don't know if it was at balloons or at something. And if you pop the balloon, you would get a poster.
Yes, yeah.
I so desperately wanted to get a poster, and it was 3 girls like bending over, and they were in thongs, and the guy wouldn't give it to me. So I actually dragged my mom back there the next night and said, "Mom, there's some games I want to play. Can we go?" And she took me, and of course, I immediately went over to that booth, threw the dart, hit the balloon, and asked for that poster. And the guy asked my mom if it was okay, and she said yeah. So that was on my wall, and I looked at that thing every morning, and eventually it grew to other swimsuit models.
Your room is why my life is totally screwed up. You guys think beautiful women are nothing but decoration.
You know what's funny is I've been thinking, so I used to love going to, I never went to St. Williams because I was always in Maine during that, but I loved Maria Regina, if you remember that carnival.
Yeah.
I've been like thinking to myself, man, I really want to play a carnival game and just see if I could win. But every time I'd go to the carnival, I was walking around somewhere and I came across the carnival and I was like, I should just go in and play a game. I couldn't do it. So I was thinking to myself, I'm like, next time I see a carnival, I'm going to fucking have the guts to play one of those games and obviously lose. But I was just in a carnival, Luna Park in Melbourne, literally 3 days ago. And I walked past the game, like looked at it, then I walked past it again, looked at it. I could not get the guts together. And Alex was like, "Oh, do you want to play a game?" And I was like, No, I can't. Let's just leave. Let's just leave.
You had somebody with you. That's like the best time.
I had someone with me, and she totally would have been, perfect person to do it with. But no, and the carnival was pretty hellish, I gotta say.
I'm sure every carnival. What's worse, though? Those traveling carnivals are like the boardwalk in New Jersey, like Wildwood.
Well,
More
just because I
grimy.
didn't grow up with the Jersey Shore like some people did, I have no affection for it. And because I hate the sun, so I never kind of beach setting like that was always torture to me. But
Old man yells at sun.
yeah, old red man yells at the sun. But we went on 2 rides when we were there. It was actually, no, I gotta say it was fun to be there, just in case she listens to this. But the first ride we went on was one of the world's oldest dark rides. Dark rides like haunted house, but it's just like a skeleton and like you're on like a rickety thing. But it reminded me of when we went to Lake George and we went on one of those, and our friend Nick said to the guy, he wanted to say, am I going to be okay on this ride? I've got a heart condition. And he kind of like jumbled it up. He was like, I got a heart condition. And the guy looked at him with such hatred and just hit like go.
I hate you so much it makes me sick.
Imagine you played those games and you were winning prizes. Like, what would you have done with them?
Oh, I would have, if I won a bunch of big teddy bears, I had to buy them all seats on the plane.
Oh, man.
Someone just gets on a plane. They're like, what the fuck is this?
Stop looking at me.
Ah! Speaking of Joyce Heiser, did you know she also dated Warren Beatty?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. Did you know? She dated him briefly, but did you know that Warren Beatty is known to be a womanizer? Quite the womanizer.
Well, yeah, that I know. That's like the thing everyone knows about him. The second thing people know is that he's short.
How short is he?
He's 4'2".
Out of the way, pick.
So there's a biography written about him by Peter Biskin called Star.
Really?
Okay. It basically documents the 5 decades of Beatty's bedding over 12,000 women, 12,775 to be exact.
What? How do you have? How could, if you've got that many, how could you have an exact number?
Annette Bening contributed that he had sex with a woman a night for that period. Now, at what point do you think you care less about sex and just doing it to keep up the appearance, or like you have stats to maintain?
Yeah. I will say that if you want to succeed in life, you just got to do something every day, and it really adds up.
So that's what you're doing. But at what point is he even trying to seduce women? Like, I mean, obviously it's Warren Beatty. I'm sure his publicist is doing the work for him.
His
Would he even try?
I mean, I guess they probably did set up some dates and stuff, but
yeah, but I mean, I'm sure he's just laying there. Do you think he's even trying?
But why don't you take the subtle approach? Maybe hang a couple of salamis from the ceiling.
I don't know. Something about that is just very bleak to me. I should be like, dude, score, yeah. But I'm just like, that's depressing.
But apparently what I read about him is that he is very compulsive, where he needs to be in control. Not a great partner. He actually drove Joyce to therapy. And when she was in therapy, her therapist said, you have to get away from this guy. You have to end the relationship. Warren didn't like this. Warren went to therapy with her, completely took over the session, turned the therapist against Joyce, where the therapist was now in love with Warren Beatty. And the therapist was asking, why are you leaving this guy? This guy's great. So that's the type of person Warren Beatty is.
I think in recent years it's become more clear that he was like a total scumbag, but going to the therapy and turning the therapist against that's wow.
Deep down, he's insecure.
Yeah, well, up front, he's an asshole.
I wish I could see that as just like a one-act
play. With 12,775, you feel like there's got to be some stories that should surface about him, where he's a horrible monster. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Man, 12. I feel like if you're having sex that much, does he have a small wardrobe? Because I feel like
don't need clothes.
You're naked so much. You don't need the clothes. That's like the one thing. He's like, I'm saving on clothes.
I can't do the math in my head. I would have to get a calculator. But that's got to be like 3 to 4 people a day, right? Because I also read that he was a late starter. He didn't lose his virginity until he was 20, and didn't really get active until later than that. So he made up for lost time massively within 10 years.
So allegedly he's like a really charming guy, but once you get to like 12,000, there's no way you just must be saying the same shit constantly.
Oh yeah. I don't even think at that point. I think it's just based on the name alone, right? Warren Beatty.
Rusty. Warren Beatty, you're so vain, you probably think this podcast is about you. But it's not. It's about just one of the guys.
Let's get back on track.
So Terry's friend Denise, she can't find a date. I couldn't believe this. I thought she was the most attractive person in the film.
I find it hard to believe that she could not get a date to the prom. That her only choices are the biggest like spazoids. So there
Yeah.
has to be like a heinous rumor about her. Like she's that girl that did something allegedly that we had in our school. Like the girl that
The frozen
did the
hot
hot
dog.
thing. The
I
frozen
remember
hot dog.
telling someone that like as like a scandalous thing. I was like, you won't believe this girl in my high school or middle school at that point. And they were like, that's an urban legend, you fool.
Oh, you know what's interesting though? That one of the guys' names is Roger Gibbler. Now you said Jeff
Oh.
Franklin wrote Full House, so I wonder if that's where he got Kimmy Gibbler from. He must have known somebody growing up that's last name was Gibbler, right?
Either that or this is like a very weak version of the Quentin Tarantino linked universe.
I don't know that linked universe.
Well, just that Quentin Tarantino movies always have like kind of an allusion to the other ones where, they'll mention a character from another one or.
I see. So maybe Roger Gibbler's, Kimmy Gibbler's brother or something.
Yeah, it's just a really pathetic version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
On a scale of lame to cute, who rates the lead slow?
They're all lame. Put Roger in a Renatux, he might move up to semi-lame.
So here we meet her brother. Her brother, this kind of classic archetype, the young, horny brother who's kind of a troublemaker, but not really.
Yeah, harmless guy. Just hormones raging.
Hormones are raging, and he says to her friend Denise,
Our parents are gone for 2 weeks. You know what that means? Their king-size bed is empty. Well, what do you think?
I think if you and I were the last man and woman on Earth, the human race would die out.
How would you answer that? If you were the last two people on Earth, who would you reject? Like, obviously somebody that's a public figure that's considered attractive, but you would actually shut down.
We need to repopulate the Earth, Ed. Get serious. We need to start fucking. It's not even gonna work. Get away from me.
It's like Alec Baldwin doing Donald Trump.
I don't know.
What we didn't mention yet is that their parents, Terry and Buddy's parents, are away for 2 weeks. So during that time period, Terry wants to focus on her article, and Buddy just wants to get laid before the parents come home. So he kind of abandons his friends, as we learn, because Terry at one point says, why don't you just go hang out with your friends? Stop being obsessed with, trying to get laid.
Can't you think of anything more profound than getting laid?
A blowjob?
Don't you think it would have been more successful, like hanging out with his friends and going to the mall, than just wallowing in his misery at home?
Probably. But this reminded me of when my parents went on their first kind of big international trip to Rome when I was in 10th grade, I think, or 11th grade, 10th grade. And I remember they were like, Edward, do you want to come to Rome or do you want to spend 2 weeks at home alone? And I was like, wow, kid, we have to ask. Spend 2 weeks at home alone. And my huge plans for this is pre-straight edge days. So we were going to drink Bud Ice. My big plan was we're going to get like a whatever pack of Bud Ice and we're going to watch Faces of Death, which I'd been trying to rent from Railroad Video and they wouldn't give it to me. But my brother agreed to go rent it.
Do you feel like you lost your innocence when your brothers rented that for you?
Yeah, I did a bit. And it's so funny in retrospect. First of all, it's so fake, except for a few moments. It's like so provably fake. But it really did seem like, oh man, there's a whole wide, dark world out there, which of course there is, but not a world where people go to a restaurant and a monkey is put in the table and then you whack the monkey in the head until it's dead. And then what kind of fucking restaurant would that be?
What's it supposed to do? Make my dick bigger?
Wasn't there a thing in one of the Faces of Death, though, where they cut up a dog, but it's clearly a puppet when they're doing the cutting?
Oh, yeah. It's like there's so many cuts in Faces of Death. Faces of Death kind of taught me about editing, where it's like they put the puppy on like the cutting board, they cut to the woman's face, and then they cut to like the knife going in, and it's like, oh, now it's stuffed. The best moment of editing in Faces of Death, I think part 4, was when the guy is drawn and quartered. But first, they're like in some Soviet Russian area. They're like, this dissident is like being arrested. And they show the cops going to his door. And then the next shot is from inside his door, them kicking the door open. It's like, oh, the guy was just filming. They're like, hey, oh, thank God you're filming. Can we have your footage and edit it? And he's like, well, what are you here for? Oh, to kill you. He's like, well, take it.
How'd I do? I never done no acting before. I was really shaken.
What did you think of Terry's boyfriend in this movie? A bit old, huh?
He was a bit
Dating the
old.
40-year-old.
He's like, Terry, I'm here to talk to you about your 401k. Definitely a very 80s trope of this Republican guy.
Yeah, a lot of movies we've watched. But did you know that the actor that played Kevin, the boyfriend, Lee McCloskey, he was roommates with Kelsey Grammer at Juilliard.
Oh.
Imagine them
Wow.
hanging out, practicing their craft.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ha.
It's funny because if you think about it, based on just looks, you would think that Lee McCloskey would have become the huge star, but not so.
Man, Lee McCloskey had so much hair, and Kelsey Grammer didn't have enough hair. People would say, just split the difference. You have a normal guy.
I just feel kind of weird.
That's because your body's not used to style.
You'll adjust.
You know, with Kevin, like, there's so much dialogue missing from this movie that I feel like his storyline could have been summed up a lot quicker.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, it seems like he never asked the questions. Like, the relationship was deteriorating. Like, you would think a normal person would say, like, what's going on with us? But that's never addressed. So he's just assuming, like, oh
man, every time I look in the mirror, I hear his voice.
What did you do to your hair?
Oh, I cut it. Isn't it cute?
Cute, it's gone.
During these 2 weeks, Terry's focusing on her article, and she submits it to get accepted to the Sun Tribune and get an internship for summer. And her article is rejected. So she confronts her teacher, and he basically says it's just too boring. So anyway, so Terry doesn't get accepted, and she comes up with this plan that she's going to go to a different school and switch genders because she believes that if she wrote the paper as a guy, it would have been accepted.
It makes perfect sense. Got a problem? You're getting dragged.
But so then, pretty quickly, she does a transformation.
Well, she does like a makeshift transformation. Just grabs her brother's clothes, knocks on the door, and asks for Terry. She's like, "Hey, is Terry home?"
Mm-hmm.
No, Buddy was fooled. Her little brother was fooled for a second.
Yeah. I was fooled. Watching the film.
They got you too.
Joyce Heiser does a good job of where her guy voice and her woman voice, they're not very different, but they're distinct enough that it strikes you when one's being used or the other's being used.
So anyway, so Terry says she's going to do it. She's going to transfer to a different school, which I have no idea how that's possible. How do you transfer to a school overnight?
Okay, here's something I shouldn't talk about, but I'll tell you this much. So my Sundance Lab project is a lot like this film. It's about someone who goes undercover as a boy in a school setting. And I have to tell you, we have spent so much time working out the logistics of how someone would transfer to a new school. When this scene started, I was like, oh my God, how are they going to handle this? And then they don't handle it. Like, there's not even like the barest mention of like, how did I start at this school? She's just there.
It's literally overnight with no parental intervention.
And the school that she transfers to is called Sturgis Wilder School. A little reference for the film nerds out there. Back in the day before the internet, these were the kind of references you had to
Who's
make.
the Sturgis?
You know?
I'm assuming Billy Wilder.
Yeah, and Preston Sturgis.
Okay. Who's Preston Sturgis? Educate me.
He was a classic director of the 30s, 40s, 50s, probably best known for Sullivan's Travels.
Oh, okay. So she's magically at the new school the next day. And the first people she sees is the school bully, played by pretty much a bully in everything in the 80s, William Zabka.
William Zabka is Greg Tolan. What was it like to be William Zabka in the 80s, always playing such mean guys?
I don't know. It's probably pretty cool, though, because he was actually a likable bully.
Oh, yeah. I saw a screening of Karate Kid where a lot of the cast were there, and William Zabka was charming as fuck. Martin Kove seemed full of himself, and Daniel's mother was like, I don't remember anything. I'm old.
Yeah, I think his least likable role is what?
I mean, Karate Kid. He's pretty not likable. I think
he's likable.
his
He did
most
nothing
likable role
wrong.
is his kind of nothing role in National Lampoon's Vacation.
You know, I just watched that
European Vacation.
and European Vacation. I just watched that. I have a false memory. You know how like when they're away in Europe and they kind of like break up, or like he's just like, oh, I think I should see other women or other girls. I have a memory that they got back. They got back to Chicago and they got back together. That is not the case.
Wow.
We don't know if they get back together. The last scene is them hitting into the Statue of Liberty.
Do you know that Audrey from that movie is no longer with us?
I know she died from was it diabetes related? She had a seizure from diabetes and went to a coma.
She was in an orchestra and the floor collapsed.
What a nice girl.
But anyway, Greg Toland as the bully. William Zabka as Greg Toland, the bully. Our first shot of seeing him is when he's discussing working out at all times, even jerking off. And then he gives this freshman kid a wedgie. Remember when wedgies was a thing that you had to fear?
Yes, but not really that I had to fear. I feel like even in our youth, they were like something from a bygone era. But it was something that you would encounter once in a while. Just like how you used to, like, once in a while you'd have like a yo-yo. And you'd be like, well, this is so retro.
You never got a wedgie? I'm sure you had to have gotten a wedgie.
I gave myself wedgies because I kind of enjoyed the feeling.
Yeah, but then you stained your underwear.
Oh, my underwear was always stained.
Pee-pee stains or the other one?
No, the other one. Pee-pee stains. That's nothing. That's just water.
You eat pee-pee stains for breakfast.
No, I can remember several notable times where I had like the craziest brown stains.
I thought you were talking about wedgies.
That's why I have a Japanese toilet to this day.
Yeah, I know. Cleanest ass in town.
That's true.
Do you remember when wedgies were atomic?
Oh, yeah.
Man,
the arms race. The wedgie arms race was really, it was crazy to live through that time.
Do you think Greg Toland's that much of a dick in this movie?
No, and he's very likable. It's like, how did William Zabka drop out of acting for so long? Because he really has like a good presence.
Wait, so you don't think he's that much of a dick in this movie? Like,
no, he's a dick, but like he's got like charisma. He's not just like a, you know.
So you'd be one of his lackeys. You would be just hanging out with him.
No, I'd be watching from a distance, but wanting to hang out with him.
Just what we need, another pussy.
Yeah. I always find it's funny in these movies, like that Terry's so naive. She shows up at a new school and immediately tries to like get in with the popular group.
Yeah. She should have been like me, lived in the tunnels for years.
Like worked her way around the sewer system, like a hand comes up for feeding.
Exactly.
Delicious.
With Rick Morehouse, how much of a loser do you think he was? Like, what's out of a rating of 1 to 10? How much of a loser do you think he was?
With 10 being the most loser?
Like, yeah.
He's only like a 4. Like, he seems like he's got, you know, not even just within the film, but it seems like he's got the potential to be cool. He's definitely cooler than we were. I'll say that much. Or me.
He seems like the type that wouldn't. He seems like the type that he wouldn't want to be cool.
Yeah.
Like he's got he's got his thing going.
I'm kind of into James Brown.
I guess so.
He's obsessed with James Brown, who came to set to teach him how to dance.
Yeah. Do you know that James Brown is like was super crazy?
Complete maniac. There's actually a really good long form article, which I believe was on CNN.com, which is kind of a weird place for a good long form article, but it was really good, about how James Brown might have been actually murdered, but like the syndicate around his empire was like really crazy and corrupt, and like a lot of like murders and bad shit happened. But James Brown was basically like out of control. So he's definitely a really problematic figure.
Do you remember when he served jail time he showed up at one of his restaurants with a shotgun? It was like threatening or waving around saying people were using his private bathroom. And then he led the police on a high-speed chase. But I think it later came out that he was just like on PCP, which is one of those crazy ass drugs.
That is one of those crazy ass drugs. I've always wondered. I mean, PCP has one of those like horrible reputations where it's like you only take it if you want to flip over a cop car. But like,
Yeah.
I was like, what is like what was the the real use of that drug? Because people use it. It's like, what? I never got that. That was kind of just like
I
an
don't know,
80s
but
scare drug.
I used to watch the show Cops, and whenever there was a crazy person that was naked and just like bleeding everywhere, they were always like, "Oh, high on PCP." I'm just like, "So you're bleeding? You don't care that you're bleeding? You're naked?" It's like your
Yeah.
clothes always come off.
It's like,
You're always like
where's the
cut up
good
somehow.
time? Where's the good time?
Because they're always cut up because they smash. They just like walk through glass. They walk through a glass door or something.
Whenever I think about
Run through.
PCP, I think about the Monster Squad when the werewolf guys are like, "Lock me up." That's like what I imagine.
Wolfman's got nards.
But Rick was kind of an inconsistent character, didn't you think?
Yeah. Why do you think Rick? Well, why do you think he's inconsistent?
Well, at some points he seems woke, and then sometimes he seems like a fucking joke. Like it seems like
Write that down.
it seems like he's cool at times to where you think like, oh, like Terry can just explain this whole undercover scenario, and he'll be like, "Oh, I'm hip with that. That's cool." But instead, he's like, adopts a very heteronormative view, and is a huge dick. And then at the end, he's like, "And I'm the guy." By the way, you're just like, Rick, I thought you were kind of more of like a artsy, cool guy.
Hey, you want to go for a ride?
Yeah. As long as I get to drive.
He seems like he's accepting when he thinks that Terry is gay, but then completely loses it when he finds out that Terry's a girl.
Yeah.
Where do you get off having tits?
No, it's hard to get a handle on him. And just in general, just kind of his reactions throughout the movie at times, you're just like, who is this guy exactly? Did Clayton Roner go into more work or not?
I love Clayton Roner because he's in like some of my favorite 80s movies, but I don't think so. I think his career kind of fizzled out a bit. I remember
too
him
bad.
doing some commercials.
Clayton Roner's a good name. He could have been like a baseball player.
Did you see a baseball card come flying through here?
So there's two guys in the class who are kind of doing like a Mork and Mindy Star Trek routine. But it's really weird because they're incredibly committed to this bit, to the point where the teacher mentions that they've been held back like 3 times. So, but they don't seem like they're out of their minds. It just seems like they're workshopping a comedy bit and they're just reluctant to take it on stage.
The Earthwoman seems so tense. Irritable. Too much coffee.
Not enough sex.
Do you know who one of those nerdy guys was?
Who?
Ari Gross.
Who is that?
He was, well, he's in a lot of things, but when our Different Strokes episode, which I don't think is out yet, he played the kid that brought the gun into school, Marco.
Oh, Marco. Oh my God. Wow. Now you've really, because I remember talking about Marco and he had done so many roles.
Yeah. Ari Gross.
Wow, he was that guy. I did not even notice that. But yeah, these guys are super committed to this alien bit. I mean, in general, a lot of the supporting characters just have like one weird thing about them. And so then this is like where Terry has to go to the bathroom, right?
Yeah, but the bit that they have, remember when the teacher asked them about the assignment?
Mm-hmm.
And they say their little spiel.
Our mission on your planet is to study human behavioral patterns.
Last night, we simulated a daily teenage ritual, homework avoidance. We consumed large quantities of fermented hops and were transformed into degenerate party animal headbangers.
I'm sure if they've been left back for 3 years, every teacher had to have heard that bit by now, right?
Yeah.
That's like their go-to.
They're like in the faculty lounge
Terry's
and they're like complaining, and one teacher's like, I actually like it. It's pretty funny. It's kind of like Mork from Mork and Mindy. Isn't it weird that he lived in Boulder? Well, that is weird.
Do you think they're aware, like, oh, there's a new kid in our class, so now we can do our bit again and get some laughs?
Oh, definitely. Looking back, like, I kind of wish, like, now that I know that high school didn't matter, and your world as a kid is so small, it like really matters. But now you look back, you're like, it doesn't matter at all. If I could go back in time, I would just rather be like a weird alien guy, just to just do something weird rather than just be kind of anonymous like I was.
So you like these guys?
These guys are awesome. They're role models for me. At age 40, I find these guys to be role models. He's going backwards. But yeah, so then Terry goes to the bathroom. Now this struck close to home for me, Rusty. This struck close to home for me. A lot of gender neutral bathrooms in Australia. My first experience with them. Of course, I completely support them. But I got to tell you, it shocks me. Not shocks me in a bad way, but every time I go in, I see a woman leaving. I'm like, am I in the right place? But it's a big change for me because I decided I'm going to stop faking washing my hands. I'm going to wash my hands for real.
How many people have seen you do
I bet
the
there's people
fake
I've
hand
dated who
wash?
are like, why does Ed always fake wash his hands?
Wait, why do you even go through the effort of fake washing instead of just washing them?
Because it's like a habit that I've had like my whole life of like faking it. So it's an unconscious. It's not like I think to myself, let me fake this. But yeah, so the other day, for the first time, basically, I was like, I'm gonna fucking wash my hands, and it felt very satisfying. And then I saw a guy go out without washing his hands, just so boldly walk past, and I was like, you disgusting pig.
Wait, so is it just urinating?
Yeah, well, when I shit in a public bathroom, I rub the shit on my clothes. I thought everyone did that. No, I definitely wash my hands after shitting. This is just urinating. Actually, funny thing about the bathrooms here, the urinals, it's like a metal grate, and for the longest time it's like a urinal. Imagine like your typical urinal, but like a like a trough kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's like a metal grate on the floor. And for the longest time, I was standing like with my feet not touching that grate, pissing onto the grate. Finally, I realized I was supposed to be standing on it. And then I was like, oh, that's why people were looking at me weird. I can't even piss right.
Strong as an ox and almost as smart.
You know how Terry thinks the article is about getting Rick a date for the prom?
It's funny. I completely forgot that detail.
Which we all know what the real article is before
Yeah.
Terry realizes it.
Yeah.
But so her focus is to get Rick a date and has him start asking out every girl. How awkward is that scene where he asks the girl out in science class?
It's pretty awkward because it's just such a weird scene because Terry tells him, compliment her eyes. And then he approaches her from behind and doesn't see that she's wearing sunglasses. And Terry is wildly like saying like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. And he's like, you've got beautiful eyes. And she looks at him like, really? And the whole thing though, Terry's intensity in that moment, it's like way over. Like I didn't understand what was even happening there.
Well, I think it's for comedic purposes.
Yeah, but it's like one of those like bad jokes that like
Yeah.
you see in horrible movies where it depends on the character just being dumber than any person's ever been.
Wait, who's the dumb one in this, Rick or Terry?
Rick is, and Terry's just taking everything too seriously.
Rick could have gotten himself out of that mess very easily.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean, I don't think that if you said to someone wearing sunglasses back then, you've got beautiful eyes, maybe they'd think that was a clever joke.
Yeah. I think.
But you know, Rusty, I think I believe in time travel. You know why?
Why? What happened?
Because now I'm thinking about a couple times I was going to ask someone out, and something weird happened that kept me from doing it. So I think that I've been going back in time and saving myself from some horrible embarrassments.
You're quantum leaping back into your self.
I think I'm quantum leaping. I think we've already told the story about when, for the record, we both had crushes on girls that worked at Toys R Us, but the one that you had a crush on, she left the industry before mine. And I went to Toys R Us where we would go to buy Star Wars figures. I went to Toys R Us to ask her out.
Yeah.
I was pacing around the store and I was really going to do it. I knew I was going to do it. And I swear to God, there was an announcement that was like, Toys R Us is now closed. And it was like 20 minutes earlier than it ever closed before. And I really think she must have been like, that guy's here. He's got a look in his eye. Can you please close the store early? Like, we never normally do this, but we'll do it for you. Okay. And then another time, I was totally going to ask this girl out. And my whole class, and I was like, it's going to be after school. My whole class got detention, which had never happened. And we had to stay late. And I didn't ask her out. And then like that next Monday, she was like dating a new guy.
Oh.
So I think that was another time that I must have, I don't know, gone back in time and saved myself.
Maybe she was just like the next guy that comes along and asks me out. I'm going to take a chance and go say yes. That could have been you.
We had a very romantic dance at the Boy Scout dance. So it wasn't out of nowhere, but yeah.
Hmm.
But it's funny because they say like back then they would be like, oh, you got to ask out a lot of people, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
but I still
rejection's brutal.
oh, it's so brutal. I'm like looking back to like 8th grade and like feeling the pain right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, how I never could have done that.
How much bruising can your ego take before it's just destroyed?
A light shove and I'll be dead.
You know what I like about with Rick asking people out? He starts off with like one of the better looking girls, and it eventually shows him just asking out like ugly ones, like whatever's left, and he's still getting rejected.
Oh yeah.
How about any night in 1987?
I'm busy.
About yesterday. You busy yesterday?
I think so. But you can ask me out again.
She was like, the only day I've got free in 1987 is when I'm going to be celebrating the successful launch of the Challenger. Oh, wait, was that 1986? I'm not sure.
Oh, dear God, no!
By the way, what did you think of the gym class scene in this movie? Or at least the gym instructor? Jeez, that guy took his role seriously.
He did. He loved bowling. That was another. It's like every character in this movie. It's like, let's give him one thing and then really hammer that home.
Yeah.
That gym teacher, man, that actor. Who is that actor? His whole gimmick must have been like, I look a bit like Peter Boyle.
He did look a bit like Peter Boyle from Joe.
When Peter Boyle became, I don't want to say huge, but big, he must have been like, I'm fucked.
Yeah. By the way, that hairdo that he had, like, would you ever rock that? Like, just lose on top, but keep everything else? Like, keep the
I'm going to have that tomorrow. So it's not really a hypothetical question.
Who did you hate more, Greg Tolan or the gym teacher?
Probably the gym teacher, because I kind of like Greg Tolan. I mean, just seeing William Zabka in his prime is just it's a treat.
It is a treat. How come gym teachers, though, always took their job so seriously?
Everyone dresses for my gym class. Everyone.
Great.
I have surprise jock inspections 3 times a week. A word to the wise, wear it.
Every gym teacher I have kind of bad memories of, even though they were all neutral to positive to me in terms of attitude. But oh God.
Do you think anybody liked shirts and skins? I can't imagine.
No. I don't know why I was so like, oh my God, don't let me be a skin. It's not like my body was weird. It's just like, but it's just something about exposing yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Like you just, anything that brought additional vulnerability to you when you're that age
Yeah.
was
You
so
had to
fucked.
You had to feel for the kids that were heavy.
Oh yeah.
Because you knew like they would get made fun of. And then the locker rooms, man, the bullying in the locker rooms.
Oh man, I stuffed so many kids in lockers. I feel bad about it now.
You with your roid rage.
I actually never witnessed any bullying in the locker room, but maybe I blocked it out.
You know, that'd be funny if you brought that back into like an adult world when you go to the gym.
Yeah, we're
bullying
like,
other
Equinox gym, and I'm like, go up to someone, I'm like, hey loser, what are you doing here? Trying to get those noodle arms into something worthwhile? And they're like, what?
You shower at the gym there, right?
Oh, do I shower at the gym? Yeah, big time.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I pee in the shower. We've talked about this. I'm so judgmental too. If anyone I see in the gym who does something that annoys me, I'm always like, you fucking motherfucker. Like there's one guy that is always in the sauna and he's always kind of lathering himself up with his own sweat. And I hate it so much that I glare at him the whole time. Like I have no compunctions about, you know, he sounds like a younger kid. So I feel like I can like be like the adult who's like, what are you doing? But it's just like the most disgusting sound. It like triggers like my, you know, that what's that thing about when people are chewing, like misophobia? Like it just triggers some disgust thing in me where he just always is lather. And like if I see him in the sauna, I'm like, this fucking guy. Yet I'm pissing all over the place.
It's misophonia.
Misophonia.
Yeah, Jen has that with chewing. She hates when people like chew very sloppily.
Oh, I can't wait to chew around Jen.
She'll lose it.
Welcome to the kill zone, pal.
The love interest in this movie, besides Terry and Rick, Deborah Strobridge.
Deborah Strobridge is perfection.
Well, it seems to me like she's got a boyfriend.
Yeah, well, there's no accounting for taste.
I love her. She would be my love interest.
Did you like her more in this movie or in April Fool's Day, which we did in a previous episode? We talked about her.
Probably April Fool's Day, just because she's got like a much bigger part in that.
Yeah, I like her voice. She has like a very distinct voice. She should have done voiceover work.
Oh yeah.
You can just take that thing and shove it right back in your pants, kiddo.
And she just had like when I was a little kid, something about like those chipmunky kind of women really appeal to me, and actual chipmunks as well. Like we've talked about our sexual attraction to the cartoon chipmunks,
Well,
boys and girls.
Wait, boy chipmunks? Oh,
Yeah, everyone wanted to party with Alvin.
yeah. I still wanted to party with Alvin, but I wanted to date Brittany.
Yeah, but by party I mean little butt play. I lost my acorn. I think I know where it is.
Oh, man.
Finally got a joke in here.
Oh my god, that was a good one. You know what the Deborah Strobridge reminded me of? I don't know if
What?
this is, but do you know what the Bechdel test? I think I said that right. The Bechdel test is.
Yes. Do I ever? I think.
I'm sure that's.
I remember there's a review of Paint It Black where someone was like, "There's never been a movie featuring two women that failed the Bechdel test like this one does." I was like, "Really? I think it passes, but what do I know?"
But this movie actually passes on more than one occasion.
I bet. I mean, this movie is kind of. I think I said this probably already, but it's kind of a little more enlightened than you'd expect from a movie from this era.
Oh, definitely. I think that's what you get when you have a female director handling this kind of subject matter. I don't know who directed
definitely.
Soul Man, but I don't think Soul Man.
Oh, that was David Duke.
Oh, okay. But wait, do you want to explain what the Bechdel test is, just in case people don't know?
Yeah, it's just the movie has to feature one scene, right? One scene where women talk about something besides a man.
Yeah, but Deborah Strobridge. Do you think it's weird how quickly she just dumps Greg Tolan?
I think I didn't really process that they're even dating. Like she kind of appears as like a character later, but life comes at you fast, so I'm not surprised. I've been dumped at that same speed.
Terry was right. You are an asshole.
That asshole called me an asshole?
Oh, now you want to beat him up too, right?
No, I want to buy him an ice cream.
Wait, you didn't get the impression that they were dating? I mean, he treated her like property, which made him a dick, but like when they have that big scene, which we should probably go into in the cafeteria. Like Rick is being bullied, and as Rick becomes more popular because of Terry's guidance, Greg Tolan doesn't really like this, and he decides to spill spaghetti on him, ruining his outfit.
Now, interestingly, he doesn't spill the spaghetti in Karate Kid, but he does point it out. So, kind of a motif in Wayne Zabka's career, appreciating spilling spaghetti.
Like when Rick confronts him and kind of humiliates him, and Greg overreacts and flips a table, that makes Deborah lose interest in him or sees him for what he really is and breaks up with him, and then finds Rick sexy as hell. But I don't know. Does the world work that way? I know I believed it did at this time, seeing this movie.
I remember I had a crush on a girl in 8th grade, and these twins that I was friends with, I told them, I was like, "Oh, I've got a crush on this girl, but she's dating this guy," and they were like, "Oh, that's good. You can kick his ass, so she could be yours." I remember even at that age, I was like, "What is your view of the world? I'm just gonna like challenge this guy to a fight and like win her." This is like the game Urban Champion for NES.
I thought by offering something more than what that person had, like, oh, if I'm really good at basketball, like, oh, that will win her over. She's just like, oh.
Well, that I always did think things like that. I remember, I think also in 8th grade, I briefly went through a period where I was like going to start playing lacrosse, which, come on, that was never going to happen. But I remember I used to like practice it in my backyard, and I was like, man, if I just get good enough, I'll become the most popular kid in school.
Yeah. Were you ever able to even cradle the ball properly?
Barely. I mean, I always like, beyond the fact that I have like no coordination, I also always had like equipment failures or bad equipment. So my lacrosse stick was never even broken in properly. So try to cradle that ball, it's like heading for the neighbor's window.
Remember the guys that would do that, like keep breaking in their net? Like they would be on the bus and just like punching the net just to break it in more? Like, was that even doing anything at that point?
I really admired those Renaissance men.
You know, the moment in this cafeteria, though, where Rick gets the meatballs and spaghetti spilled on him, and he goes into the bathroom, and there's a moment there. There's a very gay moment where you think something more is going to happen.
Interesting.
No, where like Terry's just like, oh, everything, you look so perfect today, and like strokes his hair.
Okay.
You don't remember the scene?
No, I'm surprised by you called it a gay moment.
like in a good way.
Okay.
Why? Is there a better way to phrase it?
I don't know. I'm just waiting for us to get canceled.
I thought your Mr. Miyagi was
A
getting
gay moment. Yeah, no.
There was a
No, I don't
very-
remember that moment.
Well, is there a better way? Do you want me to say it in a better
Well,
way?
she's a woman. What makes that a gay moment?
Because Rick thinks it's that Terry's a guy still at that time.
Oh, okay.
So when Terry like strokes his hair, they kind of lock eyes for a second, but then like
That actually, yeah, I got to say there is like a homoerotic undertone throughout the film.
yeah, that's what I'm
And
saying.
maybe when Rick reacts so strongly when he finds out she's a girl, it's because he's forced to confront the feelings he already had for her as a man. I dug you out of that hole, didn't I?
I don't think I was in a hole. I was never saying anything bad about it.
No, I know. I was just creating content.
Okay, good. It's so weird though to me that Terry is friends with Rick at this point, has been to Rick's house, knows Rick's mother. Like at the end of the movie, when Rick wants to now date Terry, how does he explain that to his mom?
Hi, Terry.
Good morning, Mrs. Morehouse.
Rick, your friend Terry's here.
It's got to be a weird conversation.
Definitely. and the mom's like, well, I get it. She was doing a story. And he's like, oh, actually, no, the story is about me trying to get a date. And the mom's like, well, the story should be about her going undercover. What am I? You ever see Fast Times at Ridgemont High? Remember Cameron Crowe went undercover? Come on. You're standing on a whale fishing for minnows.
I used that phrase other time.
I know. But yeah, Sherilyn Fenn is in this film. And she plays the love interest of Terry. She finds herself attracted to the male version of Terry.
He's a hunk. He's like the Karate Kid.
He does. She says he looks like the Karate Kid, and it's freakishly accurate. Someone on set, that could not have been in the script. Someone on set must have been like, "You look like the Karate Kid," and then they put it in.
I would say better looking than the Karate Kid.
Yeah. Especially, I hate how Ralph Macchio looks these days. I can't watch Cobra Kai looking at that face. Ralph, you're welcome to be on the show.
As a kid, I always had crushes on male characters as well as females.
Yep.
Like non-sexual, but always crushes. Never liked Ralph Macchio.
Me either.
Not even in Outsiders. I liked all the other Outsiders except him.
Yeah, I always hated him in Outsiders. But
anyways,
Sherilyn Fenn's character, the famous beach cave scene.
Well, first of all, she makes several attempts to ask out Terry, and Terry shows no interest.
Yeah, but I got this one rule. I never go out with girls who say bitch.
She tricks Terry and Rick into going to the beach caves or whatever they're called, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have a bone to pick with the scene. I don't have many gripes about this film, but there's one here. Sherilyn Fenn's character, Sandy, tricks Terry and Rick by saying that, Rick's really desperate for a date and I have a perfect girl for him that's really interested. So they agree to go, and Rick kind of begs Terry to agree because Terry didn't want to go. And it turns out the twist here is that the girl for Rick is a 13-year-old.
Yeah. And
Rick is mad at Terry for this, as if Terry set him up. Doesn't make sense.
Rick is a huge dick here. This is an example of him being inconsistent. I feel like if Rick was cool, he would kind of have a sense of humor about this.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you did you read the IMDb trivia of this?
No, I did not.
There's a interesting moment in this scene. If you look in the background, in like the dark in the background, you can see Jeffrey Epstein's ghost being like, "Go for it, Rick."
Was that recently added to IMDb, or was that always there?
That's always been there. That's why I've been like, why doesn't anyone arrest this guy? It's right on the IMDb trivia for just one of the guys. No, I don't like making jokes like that.
There really is a very good explanation for that.
I'm flattered.
You are?
But you don't have to do this to impress me.
I don't?
No. I like you a lot.
I think I'll take one of those beers now.
It's okay. I mean, how small can it be?
Don't ask.
Passion in Paradise, aka Jeffrey Epstein's Island. No, Passion in Paradise. This is the prom. Now, this prom, I want to know where this was shot, because I'm not a surfer, believe it or not. But didn't you think the waves looked fake or something looked weird about those waves? Like I just
Yeah,
felt like that's not the ocean. I don't know what it is, but it's not the ocean.
yeah. It looked like a lake where they were making waves with that like device thing.
Yeah, it really, I don't know what it was. It was just an interesting, weird location. But I got to say, by the time the prom scene comes up, I'm like, I've been checked out of this movie for years.
And yet somehow you find the courage to go on living. You got guts.
I want to make a travel show with you investigating where scenes were shot and trying to
Oh,
find them.
I saw a movie last night. I fucking flipped out, dude. This movie called The Lodge, fucking horrible movie. From the makers of Goodnight Mommy, which was an Austrian movie. But the point of the story is, at one point, they go to a house. It's supposed to be in Massachusetts. This could not be less American. So many little things that I was like, that's not an American house. I practically, that's the most patriotic I've ever felt in my life.
You became the WWE wrestler, the Patriot.
I did. I
That's
did.
how you
But
felt.
then I immediately shifted back to being Sergeant Slaughter supporting Saddam Hussein.
Remember that angle?
Just trying to get the crowd to hate me.
Yeah, so Passion of Paradise. But I think the thing that disturbed me the most was the band. The one guy creeping on like the student.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the band? Remember he kept making eyes with Denise? And Denise was like, there he is. He's looking at me again. And then they wind up like hanging out.
This was me at the Battle of the Bands in high school, making eyes with the fans.
Yeah,
but I
you
was so
were in
bad
high
at my instrument. If I looked away from my instrument, I couldn't play.
Wait, but you were in high school, checking out high school girls.
Yeah, no, so it's appropriate.
Yeah, this guy's like 45.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
He's like got a receding hairline.
That part I would do though. That's not my fault though. That's the hair.
You know what other thing that bothered me? Not bothered me because I love the movie. When they announced the Homecoming King and Queen, which is Greg Tolan and Deborah Strawbridge, and Terry's like getting real jealous at this point, where she doesn't want Rick and Deborah dating or being together. So she's like, now that I take a good look, they really do make a nice couple. And Rick just like looks at her in dismay. I want to know what that conversation was like. Like, wouldn't you be like mad at your friend for saying that? Like, you finally get the girl. Like,
yeah, it's kind of a weird moment.
Weird moment.
But now I'm not even remembering. Do Terry and Rick end up together? They do, right?
Well, at the very end, but
yeah,
when Terry reveals that they're female, Rick freaks out.
Yeah, Rick has a horrible reaction to that.
Yeah, and then like, well, I mean, Terry puts him on the spot and makes out with him or kisses him, and you think he's into it because it's a much longer kiss than you would think if you were kind of already hurt by the situation.
Yeah.
But you think like everybody's like, woo! It's a feel good moment, and then he's just like not into it. He's just like,
this whole thing was bullshit. Major bullshit.
Yeah, it becomes a feel bad moment. It feels like the movie should have ended there with like a triumphant moment. Instead, it's like he acts like a dick, and then there's like one more beat where he's like, "I've come around."
But I think you need that moment because Terry like gets her dream job, like submits the article to the Tribune, gets her dream job over the summer, and is still miserable by the whole ordeal.
Yeah,
like it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth to deceive someone.
Yeah, but I feel like there's a better ending there. Like I feel like it should have ended with Deborah Strawbridge calling me and being like, "Ed, I know you're 8 years old, but would you want a date?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, come over and watch Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings. It's a lot more violent than you would think."
I would hate you so much. I would just I want to mush your face to something for that. But I do like that ending. Deborah Strawbridge calling a random 8-year-old up. The audience, they tested that, and the audience is so confused. Like, what is this?
They're like, why did you didn't mention this character before? And he's kind of a weird kid.
He's got fucking shit stains in his underwear.
It's like, if only you had HBO. You have clean underwear, healthy idea of sexuality, and he'd watch other films besides the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings, Secret of My Success, Rocky, and Star Wars, and Dumbo. Those are my 5 movies ahead.
And Pine Tar Incident. I love
and
that.
And the Pine Tar Incident. and be a good sport, baseball, an instructional video about being good at baseball that I was like, if I just watch this, I'll be fucking great. I was like, I just don't have time. It's 19 minutes.
Don't get me wrong. It's not like I've never had sex before. I've had lots of sex. It's just that now I'd like to try it with a partner.
You know what moment? Another stupid moment with the Prom, when Kevin, the boyfriend, realizes that the relationship is over, and he immediately hits on another girl. He was like,
Hi. You're probably here with a date.
Yeah.
like he was a yuppie and he was like chasing money and whatever, but that was out of the realm of that character to do that.
It was, but I have to say the actor's delivery of that line was actually kind of funny.
Yeah, I wish I talked like that. That's like such a Patrick Bateman way of speaking. Like,
A long time ago, I knew this girl named Terry. She wore dresses and makeup. She was hot. And one day she disappeared.
Like when Tarantino brought back John Travolta's career with Pulp Fiction, I'm going to bring back whoever that guy is with some shit.
that would be nice. You should bring back a lot of the people we loved in the movies that we've discussed. That
I would love that. I would love that.
Patty Mullen, Lee McCloskey, and Chris Makepeace.
Mark Soper. That's one of the big ones I'm bringing back.
Mark Soper and the weird guy from What Have They Done to Solange? The weird killer guy.
Wait, I think the killer guy. Because I think oh my god, I can't remember his name. Something Testy. I think he's dead.
Wow.
Or maybe no, he's not. No, he's not dead.
No, he's not dead. You know what I love
Fabio.
You know what I love about this podcast? Once we do a movie and all the research and whatever, it's out the window. Like I don't remember any of it.
Oh yeah.
It's like
Willow.
Willow.
Willow's the only one I remember. I was gonna say, like in the office next to me, there's some people working on some creative thing. They probably know more about the movie Vamp than I do, and I recorded a 2-hour podcast about it, and they've definitely never seen it.
You know what's funny? I was trying to, because you're in Australia now, so I was trying to think of like a good tie-in to Dead and Drive-In. I can't even think of any of the characters' names.
Yeah, I just remember there was a car.
Which car?
Girls are wonderful. Don't talk about love, and don't talk about stale romance. I like my playthings, and I like to dance. Fast, hot, and furious. Naughty girls in magazines. Skin tight and curious. Something wild, and I need it now. When we touch, overload is much too much. Oh, the passion and pain. You're a sexy thing. Come and taste my dream. Twisted fantasy. Oh, what you do to me. I want my
Terry has a stuffed giraffe in her bedroom. Do you know that giraffes will probably go extinct sooner than you can guess?
Just like humans.
Speak for yourself. Steven Seagal said he was hard to kill. He never heard about me.
You ask a lot of questions.
Rick, we're rapping man to man about chicks and shit like that. You know, like, still a virgin?
I don't know.
You don't know? Weren't you paying attention?
Are you a virgin?